Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, an Amber Alert out of Gonzales County ended with one suspect in custody.
Outcry is growing after a video shows a group of migrants beating NYPD officers. This as the nation's immigration crisis continues to get worse.
And people who have experienced homelessness share their experience during a panel at UHV today.
Well, half of your Friday is going to be good, but the later half is going to be affected by this huge storm. It's out in Arizona, but it'll be making it to our place by tomorrow night. So we'll be talking about that coming up and planning your weekend, all that in a moment.
And UIL realignment happened today. Will East and West continue to play each other? And will the Lavaca River Showdown continue? I'll have that and much more in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
2 Victoria suspects were taken into custody by Victoria police with the help of U.S. Marshals Monday. 21-year-old Erasmo Garcia and 18-year-old Rico Macias were arrested in the 1200 block of John Stockbauer Drive. This was a day after a shooting occurred in the 3200 block of Cypress Street. Over 30 gunshot rounds were fired at a home. No one in the home was hurt. Garcia and Macias were identified as members of violent criminal gangs. They are both charged with deadly conduct, discharge of a firearm, and tampering or fabricating physical evidence with intent to impair. Those 2 are in the Victoria County Jail. No bond set on those charges. A suspect has been arrested in connection with an Amber Alert from Gonzales County this week. Wednesday, San Marcos police found and safely recovered Scarlett Smith, a missing juvenile associated with that Amber Alert. They also arrested 22-year-old Barry Lee Van Mersbergen in connection with the Amber Alert. He faces 5 charges, including harboring a runaway child, resisting arrest, and a probation violation from Dallas County. He is now in the Hays County Jail.
Wednesday morning around 9 o'clock, the DPS pulled over this truck hauling a horse trailer. This was on Highway 59 about 8 miles west of Goliad. The truck was registered in Edinburgh. Authorities found 11 undocumented people hiding in the horse trailer. The 42-year-old driver had an ID from Mission and is a U.S. citizen. Authorities detained 9 people, including the driver, and about 3 to 4 people got away. The driver is charged with a count of human smuggling. A 55-year-old suspect was arrested in DeWitt this week. Timothy Bolt faces 2 charges, including aggravated robbery and interference with an emergency request for assistance. He is in the DeWitt County Jail in lieu of an $85,000 bond.
A canine officer played a big role in a Wharton County arrest Thursday morning. Wharton County Sheriff's deputies stopped a stolen GMC Sierra on U.S. Highway 59 South near County Road 224. The vehicle had been reported stolen to Houston police. The driver of the vehicle, 45-year-old Raúl Jimenez, a Cuban citizen, ran from the vehicle and into a nearby wooded area. Wharton County Sheriff's Office Canine Thor found Jimenez there. He was arrested for evading arrest or detention and unauthorized use of a vehicle and is now in the Wharton County Jail.
Victoria County Sheriff's deputies responded to a crash this morning around 7 o'clock near Bloomington High School on FM 616. Deputies found a truck crashed into a utility pole, but the driver was nowhere to be found. The utility company was called in to fix the damage and the pickup truck was towed from the scene. The crash remains under criminal investigation.
An attack caught on camera is sparking outrage in New York City. A disorderly conduct call turned into a violent group attack on 2 NYPD officers.
The incident has intensified the debate over the surge of migrants into the city from Texas and other states.
Reprehensible. Cowards.
Frustrations are high at the NYPD after 2 of their own were violently attacked near Times Square this past Saturday. Authorities say the 2 officers were attempting to make an arrest while responding to a disorderly group outside a migrant shelter in Midtown. That's when several suspects began punching and kicking the officers. The beating was captured by a street camera and released by the department's Crime Stoppers unit.
If they're not afraid to assault the police officer, they're not going to be afraid to assault somebody else.
Both officers were treated for minor injuries, and at least 7 people were arrested after the attack. They face an array of charges, including assault on a police officer, gang assault, robbery, and disorderly conduct. But according to a criminal complaint, those charged have been released without bail as the investigation continues.
I'm not satisfied with that at all. I'm looking to judges and prosecutors to do the right thing.
Prosecuting the suspects will be the job of the Manhattan District Attorney. A statement from that office condemned any violence against police officers, adding that it's paramount every person responsible for this attack is conclusively identified. But the head of New York's police union and the chief of police patrol both say the problem is much broader than this one heinous attack.
Across this entire city, individuals are not afraid of consequences.
There's no consequences, and we must change this. End of story.
I'm Laura.
Let's take a first look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. We've been on a winning streak this week with sunny weather in the 70s. The streak keeps going for another how long?
Well, it may be 2 weeks because even though we've got this frontal system that'll be here tomorrow night producing rain, it's going to pass through very quickly, but it's coming from the west. Therefore, the air is not particularly cold behind it. And so right after that, we get back into the 70s. But problem is Saturday morning, we may have some big thunderstorms. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a minute.
Mac, thank you. Officials in Dallas say 4 people are dead after a police chase ended in a vehicle crash near Interstate 35 this morning. The pursuit started in the early hours of 2 a.m. when officers located a stolen vehicle and attempted to stop the driver. Officers then followed the vehicle, not knowing how many occupants were inside until the driver lost control near I-35. All 4 of the people inside the vehicle died.
So this is a tragic event. I won't speak to the specifics of it, but I will say that it's a very tragic event. So the Irving Police Department is allowed to pursue stolen vehicles. You know, officers are required to constantly monitor the situation as they're in the pursuit of a vehicle. I will say that time goes fast, or it seems like it goes fast in a pursuit, but it's their job to make sure that they're being safe at all times.
One Dallas County Sheriff's deputy was injured during the pursuit, where he suffered a minor injury and was released from the hospital. But details, including what speeds the vehicles were traveling, have not been released. Now, a glitch in financial aid forms is keeping students with immigrant parents from applying for college grants. Parents without a social security number still cannot complete the new FAFSA online. The U.S. Education Department has not said when it plans to fix the issue, but you can read the full Texas Tribune article on crossroadstoday.com.
For now, here's your viewer poll. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote. And here's the question. Do you know someone who experienced difficulties with the new version of FAFSA? Yes or no? And overwhelming 95% of the people voting say no. We thank you for voting. All right, Sheriff A.J. Louderback is running for State Representative House District 30 after Jeannie Morrison announced she would not be seeking re-election. Tonight, Louderback hosted a meet and greet at the club at Colony Creek. Louderback has picked up the endorsements of Attorney General Ken Paxton, Land Commissioner Don Buckingham, and most recently, Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller. Miller was in attendance tonight to show his support for Louderback's campaign. Louderback adding that the border is a primary issue that he wants to address.
Well, Andy's he's the real deal. You know, he is a Texan. You just look at him. He oozes Texas. He's steadfast. He's not going to be wishy-washy. If he tells you something, you can count on it. You can take it to the bank. He's the kind of elected official you can turn your back on. You don't have to watch him all the time. If he tells you something, he's going to do it. He'll deliver.
Clearly, the number one issue in this district is the border, as it is throughout the state and as it is throughout the United States. And I'm the only candidate that has actually worked on the border. I have extensive background on the border. I've worked the border situation, the border crisis, actively since 2006.
Early voting for the District 30 state representative seat is February 20th to March 1st. Election day will be March 5th. Other candidates for this race include Brett Baldwin, Victoria Mayor Jeff Bouknight, and Vanessa Hicks Callaway.
Homelessness can result from a variety of reasons, and every person's situation is unique. That's why the Victoria County Public Health Department hosted their Faces of Homelessness panel at UHV today. Multiple speakers share their experience with being homeless while also answering questions. Terry Ashcraft dealt with homelessness and says these events are important and helping connect the community with the issue of homelessness, adding that improving rental assistance programs would be a great way to directly tackle the issue.
The assistants can't work if the apartments don't let them work. So, I mean, they want 3 times the rent. Well, that doesn't work for almost anyone in my situation, because even though I'm employed now, I'm not going to get enough hours right off the bat to make 3 times for another 2 months.
There are resources available to those who are at risk of becoming homeless or are unhoused. From Christ's Kitchen, the Victoria Salvation Army, or Mid-Coast Family Services, they are here to help. Visit crossroadstoday.com for contact information for these resources. Now, of course, we're following the mayoral special election this Saturday. The Victoria City Council called for the election after Mayor Jeff Bouknight announced he was running for the District 30 House seat. On the ballot is Peter Brown, Carissa Winters, Josephine Solis, Dwayne Crocker, Jacob Sauceda, and Bob Constantine. As for Bouknight, he remains in the seat until a new mayor is elected. Bouknight was first elected to the City Council in 2013 and was elected mayor in 2021. He was then re-elected mayor in May of 2022.
Stay with CrossroadsToday.com as we cover the mayoral special election this Saturday. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. If a runoff is necessary, it would take place on Saturday, March 16th. A Victoria ISD board member is not running for re-election. Mandy Lingle decided not to run for re-election to the Victoria ISD board District 4 position. Lingle was elected to that position in 2021. In a statement, Lingle said she feels blessed to have had the opportunity to make positive impacts in the community while serving with her fellow trustees on the board.
In Victoria, ISD will hold an election this May 4th. The District 2 and District 4 seats are up for grabs. District 4 trustee Mandy Lingle does not plan to seek re-election, and Bridget Marshall holds the District 2 seat. The deadline to apply for a place on the ballot is Friday, February 16th.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. The parents accused in fatally stabbing a social media model's boyfriend is in court facing murder charges.
Also ahead, a cleanup operation took place at a Houston airport today after the fire suppression foam filled a hangar. 4-year-old boy and his grandmother went to the hospital after they were attacked by their dog in southwest Miami-Dade Wednesday. Police responded to a medical call, possibly involving a dog bite. Miami-Dade Animal Services says the boy and his grandmother were attacked unprovoked by the family's 2-year-old German Shepherd. In a statement, Animal Services says due to the nature and severity of the attack, the dog will be humanly euthanized. The parents of an OnlyFans model is facing charges related to a murder case out of Miami.
The parents were arrested Tuesday in Texas.
Kim and Deborah Clenny, the parents of former OnlyFans model and accused murderer Courtney Clenny.
Good afternoon, Ms. Clenny.
Courtney Clenny, who appeared in bond court Wednesday morning, and her parents now face charges for illegally accessing the laptop of Christian Obumzeli. Police describe the attempts by the threesome to get into the laptop, which they had discovered in Clenny's high-rise Edgewater apartment after Obumzeli's alleged murder. After many attempts and Courtney Clenny providing possible passwords from jail, her father allegedly said in a group chat that included Courtney and her attorneys, "Hell yeah, that pin worked." Courtney's parents eventually turned that laptop over to their attorneys.
They may very well have had a conversation, and I expected they would have, with their client's parents that said, just get the thing. Don't access it.
An attorney did make sure to tell the Clenny parents that they should hold off on going through the computer. The attorney said in the chat, "I don't want to turn you into a witness just yet if you find something useful." Courtney Clenny claims she was acting in self-defense when she fatally stabbed Christian Obumzeli in April of 2022. The Obumzeli family says he was murdered.
This was never self-defense. The family is very happy that the state attorney's office continued to pursue justice in this matter.
In his first news conference since returning to work, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin admitted mistakes in the handling of his prostate cancer treatment. He went to the hospital overnight in December for prostate cancer surgery. Then in January, he was hospitalized again for surgery complications. That's when the president and senior administration leaders were notified. Austin said he mishandled communication on the issue, but stressed there was never a breakdown in the military chain of command. The issue raised questions about transparency and communications within the Biden administration. Cleanup is underway in Houston after fire suppression foam spilled from a hangar at Bush Intercontinental Airport. Airport staff says the spill was caused by a malfunction in the fire suppression system this morning inside a United Airlines hangar. At least 12 employees were reportedly stuck inside the hangar due to the foam. Multiple crews now on site assisting in the cleanup. It's unclear how long it will take to clean up all the foam.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's 57 degrees, not exactly feeling like winter. I mean, we should be down into the 40s, don't you think? Today's high temperature did manage to get up to 74 as we continue this entire week of above normal temperatures, almost spring-like. But it's tomorrow night, Friday night into Saturday morning, where we've got a frontal system and possibly some thunderstorms that we're going to deal with. So let's talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. Well, good evening, everyone. Of course, I'm sure you got things done this week because it was very mild weather, no serious problems, temperatures running above normal, not exactly feeling like winter out there. And now here we are in February, and we continue on that above normal season. Now, we don't have much happening across the state today. We had a terrific day, got up to 74, but it's already out here in Arizona where the storm, the frontal system has already moved. And this is going to be an Armageddon for Los Angeles this weekend. I don't know if you have family out there, but they're telling people not to drive, to stay home because they're expecting 5 to 7 inches of rain in the valleys and even more in the mountainous areas. So this is going to be kind of a disaster by Monday or Tuesday. If you don't believe me, just check in the news next week because you're going to hear about it, because they're getting mountain snows and they're getting rainfall that's the entire year in about 4 days. So it's going to be amazing. All right, for us, we're getting down to about 59, 58 degrees still. That's almost 60 degrees, so not particularly cold. Tomorrow, a pretty good looking day for the beginning of the day. But during the day, you're going to see the clouds begin to build up. And out to the west, we're going to see a line of storms coming in all the way from Arizona. Now, already we have much of the Crossroads, Southeast Texas, even the Piney Woods ready for the possibility of some severe weather. That means thunderstorms that are going to roll through and then kick up thunder and lightning, maybe heavy rainfall. I don't know about hail just yet. Haven't seen the composition of the atmosphere, but even here on Future Tracker, you can see that in the dark blues, which is here and here and here and here, that's over an inch of rain. And in the light blues, that's over 2 inches of rain. And in the purples, well, it's more than that. So we've got 1 to 2 inches of rain possible overnight between Friday night and Saturday morning. So that's a lot of rain in about 8 hours, 9 hours. So just Saturday morning, maybe you just stay in bed, you know, I mean, watch cartoons or something. We are looking at Future Tracker, and this goes through the time. And here you are on Friday at 7 o'clock. You can see the line of showers out west of us. And then we go through 11 o'clock, and you can see how the storms are beginning to fire right about there. And there we are. So that's midnight coming through our region. And then there's a second band that will redevelop and then come through here at about 2 or 3 in the morning. Now by sunrise, most of the stormy or the big storms will be moving out, but it'll still be rather damp, and we may even have a little flooding there with that kind of significant rain. But by Saturday evening, it clears up. And by Sunday, we've got a beautiful day coming in, lots of sunshine, not very cold. This is going to be just a little bit cooler, but this becomes a huge storm for the rest of the country. They're really going to have to be dealing with it. Now, let's take a look at our extended outlook for Port Lavaca. We start off partly cloudy, get up to 72, and then showers by the end of the day. And then in Port Lavaca, or rather Cuero, we start off, get up to 71, and then partly cloudy, and then get showers by the end of the day. And so, for those of you that are planning your weekend, just know that Friday night into Saturday morning, I think it's going to be quite stormy. It clears up, and Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday are a little cooler, but still sunny, but only in the upper 60s. That is your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. You can get all the weather and sports from Zach Brown.
And you can get the answer to whether or not the battle for the boot will be played and the Lavaca River Showdown and much, much more. But I'll have those answers coming up right now in sports. Huge day in the world of Texas high school sports. It's a day that only comes once every 2 years, and that is realignment day. As soon as they cut open that box of realignment packets, coaches anxiously open to see where they would end up and immediately began making phone calls trying to set up their non-district schedules or just simply look for opponents. And while we had a decent amount of changes on the day, one of the bigger stories that happened, the switch up with Victoria East and Victoria West. They are splitting up. This is due to enrollment numbers. East had 2,044, West just under 1,900. That difference in the 193 students enough to bump West down to 5A Division II. Meanwhile, East stays put in Division I. However, the battle for the boot is not going anywhere. That game is projected to be a Week 2 non-district game. Like I said, not official, just projected at this point in time, but the game will happen. Class 4A will also have some shakeup between Cuero, El Campo, but Calhoun, they'll stay put, but the Sand Crabs will now be playing El Campo and Bay City as they will all be in the same district. As for Cuero, they will be moving over districts that will consist of Ingleside, Robstown, Rockport, Fulton, and Sinton. In Class 3A, Hallettsville and Yoakum, they stay put in their district. It looks pretty much the same. Goliad, Palacios, Edna will also remain in the same district, but one of their district rivals on the move, and that is Industrial. Head coach Craig Nairn and his Cobras dropping to 3A Division II after turning in a lower enrollment, but they're joining Tidehaven in a tough district. As for the Lavaca River Showdown, well, it's still on as well. They already have it scheduled for Week 1 of the next year, so both of these great rivalries will continue. And lastly, in Class 2A, Bloomington and Ganado stay put in the same class and district, but two powerhouses in that district going their separate ways. Refuria moving further south, still 2A Division I, but District 16 now that has Skidmore, Tynan, and Three Rivers. In addition to those teams, they will also get Freer, Fremont, Riviera, Colfer, and Santa Maria. Shiner, the other team moving out of that district, but they drop to 2A Division II as they also turn in low enrollment numbers. Shiner moves to District 15. They're going to join fellow Crossroads schools in Louise and Yorktown. They will also have Charlotte, Falls City, and Pettis. And while our area head coaches were wondering who would be on their schedule next season, the Washington Commanders trying to figure out who their coach is going to be. Well, it's none other than Dan Quinn, who, well, I guess now was the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. Quinn held that position since the 2021 season. Before that, he was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, who made it to the Super Bowl. I don't know if you guys remember, 28-3. Yeah, he was the coach on that team. They also reportedly interviewed Bill Belichick, but passed. This was the last head coaching vacancy in the NFL. Well, what a day it was. Dawn and Karina, back to you.
Thank you, Zach, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we're going to take a last look at your weather with Mac. Plus, tomorrow is National Tater Tot Day.
Responders were not horsing around after coming to the aid of an equine in Trumbull in Montana. Fire crews received a call about a horse that had fallen into a 10 to 12-foot hole that had opened in a pasture Tuesday night. The 1,200-pound horse was said to be in good condition. Crews opened a trench and the horse was then able to get out on its own without additional rescue efforts. No bystanders or responders were injured during the rescue. How did that movie start? Over and over again on radio.
Rise and
shine, campers. Groundhog Day is Friday, and the country's most famous prognosticator, yes, the one and only Punxsutawney Phil, will give us a possible hint of how much more winter we'll have to endure. The legend says if Phil sees his shadow, he's Phil to friends, there will be 6 more weeks of winter, but if there's no shadow, that means it's a sign spring is just around the corner. More than 30,000 people visit Gobbler's Knob in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania every year to celebrate Phil's forecast. My question is, because you're so scientific on this, Mac, and into stats. Now, how often?
In Chapter 3, they said, do not listen to the groundhog, okay?
Oh.
Not a credible source.
How often is he right? Have you ever seen stats on that?
I've never even watched it that closely because they told me, they said, don't get your forecast from the rodent, okay? And, yes, sir. All right. Hey, that was at A&M, so, I mean, you believe whatever they say. So, no, if you celebrate Groundhog Day, great. I don't. I look for
How
the
do you
coyote.
really feel about this,
I look for the coyotes to tell me something else. You know what I mean? Well, folks, so we do have a good-looking Friday for the starter of the day, but then by late at night, after sundown, we're going to be watching to the west because a line of thunderstorms is going to be rolling toward us. Now, it gets here probably after midnight, so it'll be mostly in the overnight and the early Saturday morning time period. We could actually get some thunderstorms, thunder and lightning. It's moving through fast. It's going to be fast and furious, but by Saturday evening, it should be very nice, and so is your Sunday.
All righty, thank you, Mac. Now, tomorrow is also National Tater Tot Day. These small potato cylinders were created in the 1950s from excess French fry pieces. The Oregon Frozen Food Company, which later became Ordea, would feed the scraps to cattle, but they wanted another way to reduce the waste. So they formed these scraps into tasty bites and, of course, fried them. And today, Americans eat 3.5 billion tater tots per year. And you were telling me that's your favorite food.
No, that's my dog's favorite food. That was the first. He loves it, man. That dude goes crazy over those things, man.
Cheese on top, excellent.
Yeah, anything fried is awesome.
We just fry everything, don't we?
Everything.
And it tastes fantastic every single time.
Twinkies and everything.
All righty, well, thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10.
Join us for 20. Good night, everybody.